In Almería, southern Spain, a wildfire near the villages of Los Gallardos and Bédar has become the deadliest of the summer. 14 dead, 7 British nationals, 3 Belgians, a French national, an American, a Spaniard. A 93-year-old British woman died of her burns days later. 200 kilometers north, near Athens, 2 firefighting helicopters collided mid-air, killing a pilot and a senior fire official. This is what a European summer looks like now, and by every measure, it isn't over. By July 29th, the European Union had burned through 457,000 hectares, up nearly a third from the same date in 2025. And 2025 was already the worst fire season Europe had ever recorded, over 1 million hectares, beating the previous record set in 2017. Spain alone has lost more than 200,000 hectares this year. France, over 115,000. Europe isn't having a bad summer. It's having its worst summer for the second year running. It starts months before the first spark. Central Spain had its wettest January in 25 years. Some regions saw 175% of normal rainfall. That rain didn't prevent fire season. It built the fuel for it, triggering explosive vegetation growth across the Iberian Peninsula. Then summer arrived with record heat, and all that new growth dried out almost overnight. Scientists call it weather whiplash. Europe grew its own kindling first, then lit it. Here's what most coverage leaves out. Extreme heat doesn't just dry the air out. It actively pulls moisture from living plants. It's called vapor pressure deficit. As temperatures climb, the atmosphere's capacity to hold moisture rises exponentially, and it drags water out of every leaf and root to fill that gap. Attribution scientists at World Weather Attribution found this summer's fire weather conditions in France and Spain are now tens to hundreds of times more likely than they were before industrial era warming. For over 50 years, European fire policy followed one rule: extinguish every fire, immediately, no exceptions. It worked in the short term, but it also meant the underbrush that would normally burn off in small, low-intensity fires never did. Scientists call it the suppression paradox. Decades of unburned fuel piled up in forests across Spain, France, and Greece. Now, when a fire finally breaks past initial containment, it's not burning through this year's growth. It's burning through 50 years of stored fuel at once. West of Madrid, the Ávila-Madrid-Toledo fire complex burned 50,000 hectares in under a week, the largest wildfire in Spanish history, ignited by machinery negligence. In Guadalajara, a second blaze near La Miela consumed 35,000 hectares. Past flame lengths of 1.5 meters, ground crews with hand tools can't safely fight a fire head-on. In Gironde, France, and on Britain's Peat Moorlands, flames have reportedly exceeded 7.5 meters. At that scale, fires generate their own weather. Pyrocumulonimbus storms throwing off dry lightning that ignites new fires miles ahead and grounding every aircraft that would otherwise be dropping water on it. Every country is fighting a different fuel. In Gironde, southwestern France, 800,000 hectares of tightly packed maritime pine plantation, grown for timber, not fire safety, burn like a continuous fuse. The Biscarrosse fire alone forced 250,000 evacuations, the largest peacetime evacuation in French history. In Greece, Meltemi winds gusting past 100 kilometers an hour turned fires in Attica, near Porto Gemeno, and on Crete, where blazes split into 3 fronts near Ierapetra, into wind-driven infernos that emptied beach resorts by boat. On Chios, 2,500 hectares burned and 16 villages evacuated. And across rural Spain and Portugal, decades of farmland abandonment let scrub regrow into continuous, unbroken brush, with none of the old grazing land left to stop a fire's advance. Europe's shared emergency fleet, rescEU, has 22 firefighting planes and 5 helicopters on standby across 12 countries. When Spain, France, and Greece are all burning simultaneously, that fleet is stretched past its limit within days. And the fix isn't coming soon. After Bombardier stopped building Canadair water bombers in 2015, the global supply chain for them collapsed. Over 50,000 components lost their suppliers. The European Commission has now committed 600 million euros for 12 new DHC 515 aircraft. First deliveries to Greece and France aren't expected until 2028. The final ones won't arrive until 2033. Climate sets the conditions, but most individual fires still start with a person. In Avila, investigators traced the ignition to negligent use of heavy machinery. In Castellón, 2 separate ignition points pointed to arson. In Greece, dropped cigarettes and abandoned campfires remain the most common causes. The weather makes a fire unstoppable. It's almost always a person who starts it. The toll isn't ending when the flames go out. In Gironde alone, over 13,000 businesses were evacuated, many suffering lost revenue without a single flame reaching their doors. Bordeaux's wine producers are now bracing for smoke taint, damage to this year's entire vintage. Insurers are forecasting billions of euros in claims across France and Spain combined. And according to the European Travel Commission, climate risk is now factoring into the travel plans of 81% of European tourists, a shift analysts are calling the coolcation era, as travelers quietly move their Mediterranean summers to spring and autumn instead.